Hello everyone and welcome to episode 16 it is of Rugby Nation. I'm Sean Maloney, that's Iain Payten, in the middle of special guests today out of Wallaroos camp. We managed to drag her back, Pato. First try scorer from the weekend, Averyl Mitchell. Great to have you with us.
Thanks
this
so
is
much
exciting.
for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, run us through last week. You were saying just before we hit record on the camera, saying it was a good week was being a bit glib. It was a lot more than that to you last week.
Yeah, so it's my first, was my first Super W this year, and it's been my first Wallaroos camp, and I really like the camp atmosphere. It's just footy all the time, and there's always someone to hang out with or go get coffee with. It's been really, really busy, but also my first test cap, so just the best week of my life. Yeah, it's been the
Not
best.
to put a too fine a point on it, best week of your life.
Yeah.
But so you're getting in. How old are you, Averyl?
24.
Okay, right. So there'll be more weeks to come. Plenty more weeks to come.
What about this week?
Yeah, what about this
How's
week?
how's it tracking?
This week is also going really well.
We love hearing that, and I want you to take us back now to your try, your opening try for the Wallaroos on their way to posting their first ever win on home soil, first ever test on home soil. Run us through that try.
Millie makes a break through the Millie Boyle, fantastic player, was playing 6. She made a break and I was lucky enough to be sitting in her pocket. She threw a fantastic pass and I caught it and fell over the line.
That's cutting it short. There was
a long run-up.
It was a huge run-up.
It's once it gets moving, it takes a long time to stop. It's kind
Sure.
of like a ship slowing down. So, no, it was a really great line from Millie, and I was pretty lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I was pretty winded. I landed right on the ball because I haven't had a huge amount of practice scoring tries.
First ever?
Well, certainly at this level. I
Sure.
didn't score any in the Super W season.
Okay.
You hit it well. That's the key thing. If you get winded, you
Yeah,
just
well,
ride it.
I really, really didn't want to go like on the big screen. So, and then I realised I had to get all the way back to halfway again, and we were being, like the coaches sort of go like, come on, work back.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously really winded.
You should
and
be able to put the
tired.
feet up after jamming in your
should.
first ever try in Wallaroos colours, 34-5 full time. You would say that there are some work-ons. I think that's the right term for your squad. Averyl, Pato, what did you make of how they got about their work?
Well, I spoke to the coach this morning after they named the team for the second test. Eva Carpani's in at prop and Laurie Kramer's come on the wing. Bit of rotation there. But the coach, Dwayne Nestor, was saying...
Can I just quickly tick that off? Is it Dwayne? Do you really pronounce the D? Like Dwayne?
I call him Dwayno.
Dwayno?
But
Nestor?
I certainly, if you want to put your own flair on it.
Yeah. So he's made some changes.
He has. And look, Averyl can tell us a little bit more about it. Finishing off opportunities was the big thing that he was talking about. Lots of opportunities made against they were a pretty strong defensive team, actually, Japan, weren't they?
Absolutely.
They really stifled during that first half. And
really disciplined, really low body height over the ball. Difficult to get turnovers on because they run so low, and excellent in the set piece. Obviously, we expected that from them, but it gave us a lot of opportunities to tighten up areas of the game and fix things and work on things. So big learning opportunity, but we're also really happy with the win.
One of the more interesting preparations leading into that test match up in Newcastle last weekend, you had an opposed training session against the Japanese?
Almost like a trial game.
What was the thinking behind that?
We had 9 debutants and a squad with even more. Having that opposed run, obviously, if you know that, or if there are good players that you have on your team that you've seen a lot of test match footy from before, you don't have to run them as much at that level. But getting to see a couple of the girls, and I think that there are a couple of selection headaches that came out of that trial that maybe hadn't been there before. So I think that it was really good. It was really competitive, and a lot of people put their hands up.
it's interesting. They do it in sevens a lot, actually, during the
They
week.
do.
They bring the
like round robin event.
Yeah, they
almost,
have they have sort of friendly nations, I suppose. I don't know if Australia and New Zealand would ever train against each other, but early in the week in a sevens
Spain,
preparation.
come on down.
Yeah.
You know, Russia, when they were there. Let's have a hat.
and
Have
it's
it
sort
up.
of it's semi-contact. It's not usually as full on as what you guys had, but there have been instances where it gets all a bit heated and flared up. But that playing together factor was probably that was evident in the first test, right? So do you think that the second test and the moving into that New Zealand series, you'll get to know each other reasonably quickly and start playing first? The first game is always hard, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Having the forward pack as well, there's a good mix of people in the forward pack, but especially in the back line where combinations are so important. And you saw it in the first game as well, just because Millie and I have played together a lot. Someone else may have gone into support a little bit sooner, but I know Millie's about 7 feet tall, so she's probably going to get that offload away. So running off her is always a good idea. But yeah, just developing those combinations between players and friendships and everything at camp. It's one of those things. If you always play better with your friends and getting to know people and getting to see how each other play and more time together is always going to have an improved performance.
20 caps with the Queensland Reds. You?
Oh, no.
I feel like
7.
that sounds about right. What was the number before we were kicking around? 20 caps for... It wasn't for you, Averyl.
No,
It was
so
else.
someone
Who was
entirely
that?
different.
I've jumped the gun. You'll reach 20 without any drama.
Thank you.
So you're fairly new to it. How did you come into rugby?
I've always loved rugby, and I was just walking through the fields at University of Queensland up in Brisbane one day and saw them playing and went to my first training session and never stopped. It was like mid-season, and I was captain of the bench the whole season. Everyone had really filled up water bottles. I was running out there with great efficiency. But yeah, they actually won the competition that season. So massive, big high, great parties, and I just never stopped going. I love rugby.
So big win last week, 29-point winners. You came away as over Japan. Game 2, North Sydney Oval. Huge crowd in Newcastle last week. We bring the action to Sydney this weekend, or this Friday night rather. How big of an interest are the Wallaroos starting to gain now, and how many do you think we'll see at North Sydney Oval Friday night?
I couldn't put a figure on it, but the more people that are there at the game, the better it is for us. And just being able to see little girls and just any little kids, but people being able to come and support and see themselves in us is massive. And being able to see yourself in a lot of those kids, and the idea of signing stuff is all pretty fresh to me.
Have you practiced your signature? Did you
yes.
practice it before the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not silly. I want it to look good. Yeah. So.
Do you sign it with a doctor? I like the idea of just signing stuff as a doctor. You could be Dr. Averyl Mitchell, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
years down the track, someone goes, who was the doctor in the team? You don't have a doctorate in anything, but that doesn't matter.
Interesting.
It's in
It's
in
not a
the
bad
cell.
idea.
Yeah,
Where
or the honourable. Put an HON at the start.
Absolutely.
Put an OBE at the end. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's not a bad idea.
I suspect that neither you or I will ever have to face
No,
that.
that's not going to be an issue for you.
Can I
right,
ask you,
Pato?
Averyl, there's two schools of thought, or maybe you can have both, like the hard and soft taco, but there's a debate about whether, it's better to play women's tests as curtain raisers to the men's tests or standalone events, and even in sport in general, there's that debate about the women's state of origin. What do you think? Is it nice to do both, or would you prefer one or the other? What do you think?
It's a bit of a tricky question, and I probably don't know enough about the respective camps as to say one or the other. I just know that there are lots of women and girls out there who want to see footy and want to play footy, and the more footy we can play, the better it is. So whether it's as a double header or as a standalone, I'm just keen to play as much footy as I can.
I just thought there was something really cool about last weekend. Boutique ground, great crowd, good footy, and like you say, Averyl, like post game, you're climbing the fence to get amongst family and friends. You're stepping on people in your 21 mils. Like that's awesome. I mean, they're lifetime memories for the women who played last weekend. And I don't know, I just think there's something really good about that.
Yeah, it's very, it's it's much more. A lot of people talk about it being like when it was still in that semi-professional amateur era, and it's a lot. You know, you might know a lot of people in the crowd, or I know that the whole of the Newcastle women's competition didn't play last weekend, so that they could all come and support us.
Well,
and it's things like that where all these people we've never met and might never meet make these huge sacrifices, and all of these women who've come before us and done it for nothing and gotten nothing out of it. It's not only them, but it's the girls coming through in the future. It's so exciting, and just getting to be in that awesome atmosphere. It was a beautiful day, maybe a little bit windy for my tastes, but it was so fantastic, and we just all loved every second of it.
But I suppose the counter argument is, and I'll argue it, is that playing at big stadiums, that shouldn't be an unusual thing for the Wallaroos and the Black Ferns. And by the end, I think last year there was almost 30,000 people watching. So you got to get people in the habit of turning up for both games, don't you? You know, and recognising that the Wallaroos and they belong on the big stage as well. So there's merit in both.
There is indeed. So this weekend it is the Wallaroos up against Japan at North Sydney Oval, and then a couple of weeks from now it'll be you up against the Black Ferns over at
Perth to start with.
What's the name? I'm just trying to think of the new stadium, Patterson.
Optus Stadium,
I think. Yeah. So that's another little nice thing to look forward to as well. So plenty of footy coming up for you, Averyl. Plenty of footy coming up this weekend as well in the Rugby Championships, with the Wallabies taking on the Springboks over in Johannesburg. It's not been a particularly kind venue in years previous, Pardo.
It has not.
What's going to happen this weekend for the Wallabies over there?
Well, I guess we've got to get the team out of the way, which comes late Thursday. So we'll wait and see. But in terms of the venue, Ellis Park, it's a graveyard. We haven't won there since the early 1960s. The last time we played there, in fact, was 2008. And that ended up as the worst defeat ever.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
53-8. I had the great pleasure of covering that game. That was very early in my rugby coverage career.
Was that so? Was it 4 tries to Yongi Nokwe, the winger? Did he bounce 4 in, or was
he
it
did.
3?
He did.
Four
He
tries.
scored 4 tries and then
He was
sort of
rapid.
disappeared, actually,
Yeah.
Yongi Nokwe. But, memories from that is Tamana Tahu playing inside centre, which wasn't the world's greatest idea. And
08, who was coach 08? Was
Robbie Deans. It was early Robbie Deans, yeah.
Robbie. Knuckles had just gone and Robbie come in.
And they'd actually had a pretty good run to that point. They'd won 5 in a row or something, and they'd actually beaten South Africa the week before in Durban. And Peter de Villiers was the Springboks coach, wacky Peter de Villiers. Do you remember he was talking about
the best,
comparing himself with Jesus after that game?
Miss him.
Anyway, so fast forward 11 years, here we
fun.
are. And the interesting part will be that team, like I said at the start, is because they've taken a lot of guys over there. They've been there for a week, which I think will help. They won't have to deal with altitude. And you might see a bit of experimentation with this Wallabies team. If you throw back to 2015, Michael Checker did the same sort of thing and tried a bunch of different combinations before the World Cup before settling on it. Now, the merit of that can be debated, but I think that's what we're going to see.
I'm going to give you an easy one here to throw to kick around, Averyl. Who would you have as your starting Wallabies number 10 this weekend and your 15? I'll let you choose. I'll let you play selector. You don't have to play favourites, but who would you have at 10 and who would you have at 15?
A nice soft one to really hit out of the park early.
Yeah,
Like
and the people you leave out will hate you forever.
Absolutely.
It's a lay-down shot.
I'm here to make enemies.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard. It depends what sort of
You're
footy.
not going to answer the question.
Absolutely not.
Would you go Christian Lealefano or Bernie Foley?
Depends what sort of game you want
Here
to
we
play.
go.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Already a master of deflection.
Yeah.
I'm not silly.
24 years of age and only has one Wallaroos cap to a name and already knows how to hand it back. I'll let you take it over. Who will be 10, who will be 15?
I would pick Christian because he's been the best 10 in the country this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does play Bernard Foley, just because I think it's important that they get off to a strong start. I know that they're not going. They're going. The talk will be the results don't necessarily matter, and this is a beauty. But the Wallabies need to get a victory on the board, basically, after last year, which was a disaster. They need to start well. To start poorly, and then you're getting that negativity back that was there last year. So I think that he might stick with some of the tried and true guys early, and then make changes for Argentina the week after.
I think irrespective of who starts on the weekend in the green and gold, I think they're going to go a long, long way to almost landing the result. It looks like South Africa can arrest a number of their top line players, and there's never been a better chance for them to snap that run of outs in Johannesburg than this weekend. While we're still in Johannesburg, back to you, Averyl. News reports came through across the week. Taniela Tupou was robbed outside the team hotel. Of all the people you would pick in that Wallabies squad to try and pinch your phone out of the hand of, would he be the last person on your list?
It would depend how quick I was over 10
You're not
metres.
as quick as he is. None
Certainly,
of us are.
Certainly not over 10. If I can get 20, 25, I reckon...
You need a 25 head start, I reckon.
I think because he didn't know straight away watching that news article
that he'd been lifted.
He thought it was one of his friends or one of the boys. And so I think if you can get far enough away, he's super explosive. But I think that
He'll gas up, you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's like a jet. I think it burns a lot of fuel really quick.
Okay, so he's the last. He'd be my last person that I ever go and try and snatch him off in the Wallaby squad. Who would be the first person that you'd be backing yourself against in the Wallaby squad to pinch away their phone?
Gee, that's a good question. Probably Will Genia, because he earns so much money he wouldn't care.
I'd be straight for Foley, I think.
Right.
Don't you think he'd just be a nice soft touch? I'd just say, Bernie, give me your phone, and he'd just hand it over.
Yeah, maybe Adam Ashley
stand
Cooper.
over.
Well, who would you go?
I can sneak it away.
You take it however you want.
All right, hang on, let me think.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Who you going, Pat? You going?
I'll say Adam Ashley Cooper. I'll change
Yeah,
because
okay.
he's so old. He couldn't catch you.
There you go.
Averyl, who are you going?
Oh, I would almost say second row. Who's the tallest second rower?
Rory Arnold. His head touches the moon on occasion.
Yep, Rory Arnold.
Okay.
Because he's so far away that by the time he reaches down
Okay.
to get me,
There's
I
some
reckon I'll be
thought
out of
behind
there.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like that collection. And another man who might have come into the reckoning, James O'Connor, who's just signed with your franchise, your club, Averyl, and that makes him available for selection this weekend. He's back. We spoke about it. We ummed and ahed over it a few weeks back, and he's in the mix.
He is. He's finally put that pen to the paper with Queensland. He's eligible to play this week. I don't think he will. I think that you might see him play against Argentina a week later. But yeah, I mean, as we talk, Brad Thorne's up there at Ballymore giving a press conference to sort of explain what he sees in him. And that's been the big, I guess, the hurdle that you probably would have had to overcome is convincing Brad Thorne of his character. And as we've said before, if he's been able to do that, then that's a fair indication that the guy has changed from his last stint with Australian rugby. I'm really keen to see him play. Like, I actually haven't seen a lot of the form that he's put on the park for sale. All the talk out of the Wallabies camp is that he's still got it. He's a different player now. He's a lot older, and they're looking at him as a centre, I believe. So, but yeah, just those little touches in drills and things, they say, yep, this guy's still got a little bit of that rabbit magic. So I'll be interested to see.
He was, if you cast your mind back to 2010 when the Wallabies played out those incredible 2 games against the Springboks in 2010 when they went down narrowly in Pretoria, then they got the cash the next week in Bloemfontein. He was just on another level. I mean, I know we're going back 9 years. You were 15 at that stage.
Yeah.
But, man, if you can recreate some of that in time to come, wow.
The hairstyles, I think it's a bit in the hair as well. I think that like half dyed, half not mop, it's got to come back.
Would you like to see him return to
top
that?
knot.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Not the top knot. This was like the shaggy, sucked mango seed
the
look.
hair helmet.
That was really, really popular
The
at the
sucked
time.
mango seed look.
Yeah.
Is that can I wander, I mean, I can't, but can you wander into a barber and say, just hit me with a sucked mango?
Look, I don't know if I've
What
got
is
enough
the
hair
sucked
left,
mango look?
I mean, I'd be careful,
brush
certainly
down.
walking in saying that to a random barber.
Well, I don't. I can't. But what would happen if I were to say to the guy, hit me with a sucked mango, chief, and what would happen? What's coming back?
Have you ever seen? It's like
It's all the
quite
brush,
long
the
hair,
brushed
very
forward.
shaggy.
Yeah.
And then it's all just. It looks like
The Bieber,
you've
isn't
sucked
it?
a mango seed.
The old Bieber look.
He had the game to back the hairstyle though.
And
Oh,
And I hope he still
absolutely.
does. I hope he still does.
that was the thing, and it was raised in one of the other shows. In 2011, he was arguably our best player of the World Cup.
Agreed.
And it is a great shame that his career has sort of gone the way it has, but it's really nice to see Australian rugby actually being mature enough to say, yep, we'll give you another chance, and let's see where it goes.
I can't wait to see him eventually get a crack back in the green and gold, which he looks likely to do. Quickly to touch on Argentina v New Zealand. That'll take place over in Argentina.
Boil over?
No, not a chance.
You
You
reckon?
tipping boil over?
Well, I mean, look at what the Jaguares did,
Yes.
and you're basically rolling that same team in.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it sounds crazy, but
So hang on a second. By that rationale, you've got the same Jaguares team
yeah,
that couldn't put away the Crusaders.
true.
The Crusaders now go on steroids, basically, via the All Blacks. Your thoughts, Averyl? What's going to happen over in Argentina?
I mean, would Argentina know how that team plays together? Would they not be maybe trialling?
Who
new
knows? Again,
combinations?
we still got to find the mix of teams to come out later through the week. So yeah, potentially maybe some changes there from the All Blacks bosses, but I don't think so.
Yep, fair point.
I think All Blacks have probably maybe got them on class, but I guess the travel as well, and being in they're packing out stadiums in Argentina.
Can be a big crowd, boisterous, a lot of
Yeah.
wolf whistling going
They're
on.
on the roll.
Fantastic atmosphere in that Brumbies semi-final.
There
Watching
was.
that one, it
Yeah,
was
100%
amazing
there
to
was.
watch. So
Lasers. I reckon we get back
Lasers.
to the lasers. I miss
Vuvuzelas?
those too.
Is
While
that-
we're walking down memory lane, old
Yeah.
school O'Connor, old
Yeah.
school P. de Villiers, lasers.
Lasers.
They were a thing for a while, they too,
That's
in
true.
Argentina. We'll see that. That's early Sunday morning, I think, that game between the All Blacks and Argentina. But Friday night's where it all kicks off at North Sydney Oval here in Sydney. So, Averyl, I'll let you give the marketing pitch down the barrel of the camera there to all those at home umming and ahhing over whether they should come. Why are they rolling in at
7
NSO?
p.m, North Sydney Oval.
well, I really wish I had thought about this beforehand.
I feel like you can handle it.
Look, everyone here does this because they love it, which I think is probably the purest form of rugby. You've got people who are away from their families, from their kids, from their jobs. We're here because we love it and we want to play rugby for Australia. And please just come down, get around us and cheer Australia to our second victory on home soil against Japan on Friday night at 7 p.m.
Well said.
I mean,
Just
come
wrap
on.
it up.
I mean, come
Put a bow on it.
That's done and dusted. That's the sugar on top. We wish you all the very best on
so
Friday
much.
night. You're going to kill it again like you did last week. No doubt about that. Pato, play your cards. You might just get a signature off this gun in the middle.
Anywhere you like.
Hoping to.
Righto, that's a wrap from our latest episode of Rugby Nation. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place next week.